Hi, Dr. Pat here, looking at another example of sinking funds, that annuity issue kind of thing. All right, so at age 25, I set up a nice individual retirement account. It's going to pay me 5% interest. I'm going to make monthly payments of $100. And so, how much will be in my IRA when I retire at 65? So, I'm going to have this thing for 40 years. I'm making monthly payments of $100. At the end, that future value, what will I have? So, that's the question. So, a nice little retirement kind of thing. And so, when looking at this, I'm going to start putting my money away. Here's the formula that we have. We're going to end up with $152,000, as you can see there. Now, what's going on with this formula? Well, after the first one is that first thing here is the payment. We're going to have a payment of $100. And then for each of these one plus things, I got to put my interest rate, and there's my interest rate. And so it's 5%. We're doing monthly payments, so I've got my decimal version of the 5% divided by 12 in those cases. And then I have 12 times 40 because we're doing it monthly for those 40 years. So then I've got to do that 480. So that's my calculation for that. How did I get 40? Just the 65 minus the 25. Started at age 25, ended at age 65. That's 40 years of investment. And so when you crunch out all that calculation, you get 152,000. Now, if you want to use your finance feature of the calculator, here's the numbers that I'm putting into it. Just remember to access the calculator, you would want to use apps, APPS. If you have an 83, an older version, you might see finance there instead of apps. But I press the apps key, then hit click on finance, and then TVM Solver. That's what we're using. And once you're in TVM Solver, this is what you type in. Oh yeah, also one of the things I'd be doing is I'd have my payment on end. And so on the bottom line of TVM Solver, I would have highlighted end. And then basically for the future value FV line, I just move my cursor on top of it and then press Alpha Solve. So that's how I would use the calculator, the finance feature of that. If you're using a spreadsheet, you could actually use that. I believe Excel does have some nice little formulas already built in for you as well. Okay, so here's my example that I have. Now, let's do a variation. Let's say I really slack off for 10 years. I go to grad school instead, all that kind of good stuff. And I don't make any payments. I don't even have anything set up. And so let's say I start at age 35. But I figured out that, I want to end up with the same amount as if I would have started at age 25. Okay, so that's basically what I'm looking for. If I want to end up with the same amount, what's going to happen? So now we're kind of working backwards a little bit. What monthly payment is needed? All right, so basically what we're doing then is we're just going to flip the fraction. So what you see on the from the formula, payment was right next to that fraction, but we're going to divide that fraction, bring it over to the other side with the future value, and that's what we have here. So the future value times that one fraction flipped because we brought it to the other side, and when we do this calculation here, the modification for this part of the problem is 30 years here instead of the 40. And so that would make that 360 power. When you crunch that out, we get 183.36. So in order to end up with 152,602, I've got to now make payments of 183. That's if I slack off those 10 years. Now, if you're using the calculator, these are the numbers that I put into the calculator. And then for this time, I have a future value. I then go back to payment, PMT, and that's where I do my alpha solve. Hey, let's compare these two situations that we have. Okay, so in situation number one, I made 480 payments of $100 each. And so I made a total payments of 48,000 in order to get that amount. But in situation two, by not doing anything for 10 years, I now make payments of 360 payments, 30 years, but now I make payments of 183. So each month I'm paying $83 more. I slacked off for 10 years, had a lot of fun, but now I'm paying for it. How do I pay it? I pay for it by paying $83 more for 360 payments. Now the difference here is this. Look at this. So in situation number one, even though I paid longer, I paid an extra 10 years, my payment was smaller, so I ended up with paying only 48,000. However, when I don't do anything for 10 years. Now I'm trying to make it up. I actually have to pay more. The reason being is those 10 years, extra 10 years, it's all about the interest. I was able to accumulate an extra 10 years of interest, and so that means that I can pay less in order to get the same amount. So that's the key. Get people started early in doing their savings. Start thinking about retirement. It's just a small amount. If they can do it, the time is valuable. Time is money. Here's that example of that. So the difference we have here is $18,000. So to make the same amount with 10 years off, I have to pay an additional $18,000 to make that happen. Hopefully this was helpful. Talk to you later.